Now, a very warm welcome to this high-level conference on retail. Very warm welcome to this very beautiful venue also. My name is Olaf Bruns, and my job will be to guide you through the day. My job will essentially be to introduce the speakers, ask questions, and make sure that everybody sticks to the given time limits, because you've been to this kind of conferences before, you know how it is. We're always short of time. So I will interrupt speakers, just for all the speakers. Be aware of that. My job will certainly not be to talk a lot, and that's why I would like to keep it short. Just 3 important housekeeping rules. The first one, the obvious, please put your telephones on silent mode. The second one, you don't have to switch off your telephones, because we encourage you to use the hashtag revitalisation on social media during the whole day. And the third one, very important, translations. The main language of the proceedings today will be English, but speakers are free to express themselves in French and German as well. We have translations back and forth from and to both, all 3 languages, English, French, and German. If you don't feel comfortable with one of those languages, don't hesitate to use the headsets. And speaking of the headsets, already announcement for the end of the day, please leave them in the room when you leave the conference venue. And that's already it. So without further ado, let me now call on stage for the real introduction, Damja Hajduk, the head of the unit Business to Business Services at the DG GROW of the European Commission. Please, a very warm welcome to Damja. Damja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Olaf. Welcome to the European Commission High-Level Conference on Retail. It's been a year now since Commissioner Bieńkowska announced that we will come here back again in exactly 1 year time and take stock of the developments in the sector since our communication, European Retail Fit for 21st Century, that happened some 14 months ago. Commissioner Bieńkowska will come this afternoon and deliver a keynote speech at 3 o'clock. I'm very happy to see so many of you today. It is our great pleasure to welcome you here. I would like to welcome all the speakers, but firstly, our opening introductory speakers, starting from Mr. Pierre Delceau, Deputy Director General of Directorate General Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs, which will be followed by Mrs. Gabriela Michaela Wojcila, representative of the European Council, Secretary of State from the Ministry for Business Environment, Commerce and Entrepreneurship of Romania. Our third speaker will be Mr. Christian Verschuren from Eurocommerce, Director General, who will give us a retail sector perspective. We will have today 4 panels. First one will deal with innovation in retail sector, and then we will be following this panel by a second panel, who will take stock of the regulatory developments since our communication from last year. The third panel will look at the future challenges and developments in the sector and the priorities for European retail at European level. The last panel today will particularly explore the role of small retailers in revitalisation of city centres and a holistic approach to this particular issue. During each panel, you will have a chance to ask questions and give comments. However, being so many of you, it may turn out that we will not have enough time to get all of your insights and positions, so you are encouraged and welcome to send your positions to our emails that will be shown during each break before 15th of September. I think this is about it for the introduction. I wish you a fruitful and lively discussion throughout the day. and I look forward to the debates. Thank you very much.
Damien, thank you very, very much. Let me now call on stage the second speaker, Pierre Delceau, the Deputy Director General of DG GROW, for a couple of introductory remarks. Please welcome Pierre Delceau. Pierre, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. I thought you wait a couple of words, so I will be very short. You know, this is a beautiful place, and I'm an old man, so I remember when it was still a movie theater. And I've seen here Apocalypse Now. I hope it has nothing to do with today's conference. It's true, actually. Yeah? It was a nice movie theater at one point. So thank you very much for your participation today. Thank you very much for your presence. When we talk about the retail sector, you know, we are all confronted in our daily life with the retail sector, but we don't always understand the importance of the retail sector for our daily life, but also for our economy. If you look in terms of job creation and job being used in the retail sector, it's quite impressive. Close to 10% of the jobs existing in Europe are in the retail sector. If you look at you know, the impact of retail sector on our daily life, you know, if you live in a city center, if you go to a city center, retail sector is fundamental to maintain appropriate level of security and safety in the city centers. So retail is fundamental for our daily life, fundamental for our economy, but not always everybody is necessarily understands this reality. And let's be also very honest, it's clear that the retail sector is being confronted with new challenges. I mean, e-commerce, everybody has talked about e-commerce, everybody knows about e-commerce, that's a reality. You have new business models. You have consumers changing their habits. So it's clear that the environment in which the retail sector has to evolve now has changed and is more challenging and even more difficult than in the past. But of course, the fact that it's challenging and it's difficult does not mean that we should not make everything to make sure that you are not faced with apocalypse, to come back to my introduction, but you are faced actually with development and appropriate growth, which is fundamental for all of us. Now, as it has been said by Damir, the Commission has already published a document, a communication, and the Commissioner said 1 year ago we should meet again to see what has been done. The first message I would like to convey as regulators, we need to make sure that the regulatory environment does not create even more obstacles to those which exist otherwise. So we need to make sure actually that the regulatory environment is fit for purpose and deliver what is expecting, which is basically, of course, protect public interest, but also do not create unnecessary obstacles to retail sector. Now, I told you I'm an old man, you know, I need my glasses now because, you know, for the rest of to continue. So, as you know, we have proposed and we have produced a document where we say basically which kind of best practices are being used and tested in different member states, in different municipalities. Again, those best practices are not invention by bureaucrats. They are not done, you know, in isolation. We have looked at what's happening in different places in Europe, and we have said to which extent those examples which exist in different places could be applicable elsewhere in Europe. Because if it works somewhere, why should it not work elsewhere? And we really believe that's a very important message. The second message also, on which I would like to insist, is the fact that you have restrictions. And again, let's be clear, some of those restrictions may be justified. It's not a question of saying that the retail sector should be free of all restrictions. So some of those restrictions are justified. But every time those restrictions are put into place, two fundamental questions should be asked. Are they really fit for purpose? Don't they go, and second question, don't they go beyond what is really needed to achieve those purposes? And that's, I really believe, two fundamental questions which should always be in the mind of those adopting those regulations. And as a Commission, we also would like to test with you and to see whether the responses to those questions is always positive. Third element on which I would like to insist, I'm a lawyer, so sometimes I'm a little bit lost with the figure. I'm not sure it's the third one, but let's suppose it's the third one. Third element on which I would like to insist, we know that many of those restrictions are not necessarily only taking place at national level, but also at local and regional level. That's a fact. It's not a problem as such. But again, as a representative of the EU Commission, I would like to insist on one aspect, that even those restrictions are being done at local level, the principle of proportionality should always be applicable. So again, from this point of view, it's really important that we test all those restrictions, having in mind this principle of proportionality. Now, as I told you, at the same time as the communication, we also publish a retail restrictiveness indicator, which provided a snapshot of the situation. Again, when you look at the snapshot of the situation, you see huge differences between the member states. In some member states, you have a lot of regulation, and being active in the retail sector is extremely complicated because you are faced with those restrictions. In other member states, the situation is not the same. Why is it so? Why do we have those differences? Why is it not possible to apply the same kind of relatively lighter regime everywhere in Europe? And that's a fundamental question that we need to address, and really we need you to address this issue during the day. Why is it possible to address public concern in some member states with a light touch and not in others? What's the differences? What's the justification? But those questions are not minor, because if you are not able to give an appropriate answer to those questions, the retail sector will not be able to grow effectively everywhere. And we really believe that's something which is really extremely important. As Damir has said, we also want to draw attention to the small retail sector, because we know that the smaller of you are extremely important. You know, many companies, many SMEs in the small sector are really micro companies, are really micro entities. And we really believe that we need also to particularly address this part of the retail sector, because that's something which is extremely important because of its size, because of its importance, because most of those small shops are actually based often in the city center, so that's very important also from that point of view, from a social point of view. But clearly, we need to help this, we need to help those smaller companies also to face the new challenges, especially the digital challenge, which is a fundamental one which we cannot ignore. So again, in the guide that we have published accompanying the communication, we have given real examples on how we could have a comprehensive approach to help those smaller retailers to survive and to develop in the new environment. Again, the purpose of this guide is to serve as an inspiration for authorities. And actually, what we have done as a Commission, we have organized workshops. We have organized four workshops all over Europe over the last 6 months to explain this. Because again, we really believe that we need to lead by example, that what's working somewhere could work elsewhere. There is no reason that a small shop in Brussels is different from a small shop in Rome or a small shop in Madrid. Probably the weather is better in Rome and Madrid, but otherwise, I mean, the legal environment and the difficulties are exactly the same. So, as a conclusion, because I've heard your message, your strong message to be short, so I will be short. As a strong message, what we really want to build with you, and that was the purpose of the communication, and that was the purpose of all the documents that we have built. We really want to build a new partnership. We really want to build a partnership between the retail sector, between the member states at all levels and the European Commission. Because basically all of us, we are in the same boat. If we are not able to find appropriate solutions to make sure that the regulatory environment is appropriate for the retail sector, we will all lose. Not only, of course, as citizens, as consumers, but our economy as a whole, because of the extremely important role played by the retail sector with respect to the economy. So we are now at the end of a commission. You never know, but normally we should be at the end of a commission, and we will have a new commission. So probably it's time now to to have a reflection and to prepare the ground for a new political agenda for the Commission, for the new Commission. And what we really want to do today with you is listen to you first, because that's fundamental, but coming and starting a reflection process which will lead us to maybe some kind of positive proposals which could be put on the table of the new Commissioner. So I wish you an excellent day. I'm sure it will not be apocalypse now. It will never be apocalypse in your case, and I welcome you for all your bright ideas coming to us. Thank you very much.
Pierre, thank you very much. And I think this very beautiful venue is somehow also a metaphor for what we will be speaking about in the fourth panel, which is a transformation of a historical heritage from a place where Apocalypse Now has been shown to a place where we are having this kind of conferences. But I should keep it short also and ask our next speaker on stage, please, Mihaela Wojcile, from the representative from the Romanian presidency of the European Council. Mihaela, you are Secretary of State at the Ministry for Business, Environment, Commerce and Entrepreneurship in Romania. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable participants, first of all, I would like to thank the European Commission for inviting the Romanian presidency of the EU Council to contribute to such an important event dedicated to a vital sector of our economy, the retail sector. I am honored to speak on behalf of the Romanian presidency as a representative of the Ministry for Business, Environment, Commerce and Entrepreneurship in front of such a distinguished audience. This high-level conference on retail is a good opportunity for stimulating a constructive exchange of views regarding the challenges of the retail sector, as well as an opportunity for providing essential feedback by European economic operators, which is vital in shaping the legislation so that it addresses their needs and offers real benefits. The current trends indicate that adapting the retail sector to the realities of the 21st century needs to take into account the recent technological progress, as we can see increasing use of e-commerce business models. Artificial intelligence, augmented reality, or flexible payment options. The new technologies are equally utilized by online platforms and by the offline businesses. These changes occur against the backdrop of a historical level of online activity, as recent estimates show that today almost half of the world population has some form of online presence. EU member states need to speak with one voice and assure a unified, single legislative framework in order to maintain the competitiveness of the European retail sector on the global market. The efforts undertaken to consolidate the single market, as well as the resources invested in creating the digital single market, need to complement each other in order to offer future development prospects for the thousands of European businesses active in the retail sector. The global trends indicate that the retail mechanisms we knew 10 years ago are undergoing substantial changes. The dynamics of consumer demand the retailer's adaptation to a new set of consumer needs, lead to a merging of the two business models, offline and online. With these models, we don't know too long ago, appeared to be very different from one another. A retail sector for fit the 21st century will have significant digital and online components, making it clear that the retail of the present, but especially the retail of the future, needs to be multi-challenged. Small, medium and large retailers need to have a strong online presence in order to remain competitive and be accessible to as many consumers as possible. The single market and the digital single market should constitute a single unified framework for the retail industry to properly function within it. In this context, the recently adopted legal framework in the field of geo-blocking cross-border parcel delivery services, modernization of the VAT system, digital contracts rules, and the platforms to business will play an important role for the delivery of goods throughout the European Union. In addition, this will help boost cross-border e-commerce and facilitate the infrastructure for retailers to seamlessly operate online. I wish to highlight that under the Romanian presidency, the co-legislators have agreed on the new legal framework regarding platforms to business, which set rules on the business-to-business relation taking place between platforms and their business user. This legal framework will allow businesses to reap the full benefit market. I would like to emphasize on the fact that the single market for goods is of particular importance for the retail sector. During the Romanian presidency, we have managed to reach consensus between the co-legislators and push forward the market surveillance and compliance of products regulation. The successful adoption of the goods package offers a renewed, solid framework for the functioning of market surveillance activities. It also contributes to the improvement of the application of the mutual recognition principles by ensuring legal clarity for the business environment and for the national authorities. By implementing these two pieces of legislation, companies will be able to sell their products across the EU more easily. In practice, we can see large traditional retailers developing digital capabilities, just as we can see retailers who started in the online space making a step towards offline and opening physical stores. By adopting a similar approach to legislation, we can stimulate competition between actors in both areas, traditional and online, for the benefits of consumers and European companies seeking to expand both nationally and beyond the borders. We should continue taking steps towards the modernization of the European legislation in order to allow successful European businesses to continue growing both on the domestic market as well as internationally. Events such as the high-level conference of retail, which encourage dialogue between business representatives and policymakers, both national and European, are essential in guiding the legislative process. Finally, allow me to thank both the Commission and our participants for their work, and I look forward to constructive discussions throughout the day. Thank you.